Welcome into the Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Todd Bowles. First of all, congratulations on the win. That before
Thank
that
you.
game, we had talked about what a huge one that was. So watching not only how they won, but knowing the stakes that you guys had in this game, what did it say about your team? What did you learn about your team in this situation?
We learned how to finish games. The games we were playing in the middle of the season that we were losing, we've won 2 in a row now by winning like that. So the mental toughness has kicked in. I think guys have kind of put some of their injuries aside and understand how they have to play, and they're playing for each other, and there's a lot at stake, and these guys are showing up.
To go from it being this, as we talked about, playoff kind of scenario, must-win game, and then all of a sudden now, a day later, you're at the top of the division. To have those kind of emotional roller coasters at this point in December in the NFL, what is that like? What does it feel like? And what does it seem like the vibe inside the locker room is from going from, man, we got to have this one, to like, hey, we're winning the division?
I think they've accepted the challenge. We talked about it 8 days ago, that we're just 8 days out of first place. And, it's easier said than done, but those guys locked in. They understood what was at stake. They embraced the challenge. And it's going to be like that the next 4 weeks. Everybody we play week in and week out from here on out is a playoff game for us to get in.
And it was a very similar situation at the end of the game to the Texans game in terms of you go up and then under a minute to hold them out of the end zone. And what is it about this game that let it end a little bit differently?
Mental toughness, learning from your mistakes, guys coming together, understanding the situation and closing it out.
I know the last time you guys won a game with a score in the final minute, it was November 6th of last year. Also a touchdown to Cade Otton. I think this was his third in his career of a go-ahead game-winning touchdown. And to be such a young player, to be a guy that doesn't necessarily get the volume of other guys on the team, but to have that many clutch game-winning type touchdowns, why is he that guy? What does that say about him and even with multiple different quarterbacks?
You better start double teaming him in 2 minutes. No, it says a lot about his character. He's always in the right place. He always does the right thing. He always runs the great routes. Anywhere that ball comes near him, he catches it, and he's come up big for us.
Take us through that game-winning touchdown in that play and what he was able to do.
Kate ran a 7 route. It was actually pretty good coverage, and Baker put it right beyond the defensive back where nobody else could get it but Cade, and he came down with an easy catch, and it was an easy catch and throw. He put a good touch on it. Cade came down with it, and Cade is kind of like me, rarely shows any emotion, but he shows some on that play, so I understand what you're talking about.
I like that. Yeah, I noticed him doing a little of this, and I was like, that might be the most sass we've seen.
That's the most you've seen out of Cade. I can take it.
I like it. And then Baker, another guy that maybe he does show a little bit more emotion. We saw there were some times on the sideline this game that he was getting fired up. He was getting other guys fired up. And then to have another, again, game-winning potential drive like this, what have you seen about Baker in these clutch moments, the end of game, the gotta have it third down, and where that sets him apart as a quarterback?
Well, Baker gets fired up when he finishes tying his shoestrings. So to play in a game like that, but he's so calm and composed, and he understands what's at stake and where everything is. I think he plays better under pressure than he does in just normal downs, because he's even more focused, he's even more locked in, and the guys rally behind him, and he makes some great throws, and he made some great throws to help us win this game.
And got his first rushing touchdown as a Buccaneer. Take us through that play.
He faked the handoff. He sees a gap. Baker kind of dips his shoulder a little more than we would like, but on the 1 yard line, it's okay to get it in as long as he's not going up against a 300-pounder, but he smelled the end zone, he went to get it.
And then how about the rest of his game? I know it was kind of an interesting one offensively, only 144 yards, less than 50% completion, but no matter what, he still seems like he gets it done. So what would you evaluate his game as a whole as?
I thought he managed it well. He didn't turn it over. They were playing too high all the time. They were daring us to run the football, so they were hell-bent on taking away Mike and Chris and everybody else we had throwing the ball. We got some good run lanes in the second half, and we opened it up, and he stayed patient and took his chances when he got them.
Yeah, speaking of those run lanes, Rashad, over 100 yards rushing, second time this year, second in 3 games. It was the 6th game this season with 100-plus yards from scrimmage for him, which is actually second in the league behind only Christian McCaffrey, which not a bad person to be behind in any kind of category. So what does that say to you, especially looking back at early games and knowing that the offense was still kind of figuring out how to use him, how to get the run going, that to feel like you're already at a place where he has those kind of numbers at this point?
Starting to take advantage of everything he does. His hands, his catching in open space, him being able to run in open space, him running back, cutting through lanes, understanding the offense. Starting to take full advantage of everything he can do, and it really helps us.
You brought up how the defense was playing against guys like Mike and Chris. What did you see from not only that, but just the two of them, the efforts to try to get them the ball, what they were able to do, and then Chris's play, even when he was getting targeted a lot, didn't have necessarily as many catches as he typically does, but some that definitely counted.
Well, he made some big plays, especially the one at the end that got us down there in position to win that ball game. Without that one, we probably would have been kicking for a tie and probably going into overtime. But him and Mike, again, they command so much attention. Even when they don't get the ball, they open it up for everybody else, and that allows Rashard to make his plays, that allows Kays to make his plays, that allows us to run the football. So if you're going to double those two guys, then the other guys have got to come through, and they did.
One of those other guys that stepped up was Chase Edmonds in a big way. That for him, 40 yards rushing, 18 receiving yards. He was our third leading receiver by yards in the game even. Definitely his most rushing and receiving yards on the season. What made this a Chase Edmonds day for him to step up, and what did that say about him?
Chase is a great one-cut runner. I thought the offensive line did a great job in the second half creating holes for him. He found them, and when he saw him, he took off. He can put his foot in the ground and go forward better than anybody, and he's a great compliment to Rashard. That's what we were looking for when we got him. So now that he's healthy, he's showing the things he can do.
David Moore, another guy that also got his first catch as a Buccaneer. Take us through the decision to have him active, have him in there, and making some plays.
Well, Dave, he had a great preseason for us, and he knows the system very well. He's very reliable, and he's a steady Eddie kind of guy. And 5 receivers need to be up, plus he's a good teams player. So he got up. We don't have a problem putting him in at any position and running any route and going to him, and that showed when Baker hit him for his first pass.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back on the Todd Bowles Show. Welcome back into the Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Todd Bowles. Defensively, yet another game where you had several people that were missing from your typical starting lineup, but you held the Falcons to 5 of 13 on third down, which marks the 6th consecutive game you guys have held your opponent below 40% on third down, the longest active streak in the NFL. What has really turned the corner, especially when it comes to third down defense at this point?
Just studying and being on the same page. A lot of it, we're not giving up the third and longs like we were early in the year. Some things you take for granted, and we've been very good on third and short as of late, and they're a very good third and short team. I think the first time we played them, they had about 8 plays of 3rd and 5 or less, and this time they didn't have as many, and we understood the assignment. The guys understood where he was going to go with the ball. The guys understood where each other were going to be, and they're executing.
Yeah, the last game, they still had a fair amount of rushing yards without essentially Bijan Robinson. Now you're going to also add Bijan in the mix. You're going to be without Vita Vea. If you think about all that going into the game, I imagine that's not necessarily the recipe that you would sign up for. But you guys were able to hold the whole team to under 100 rushing yards. What do you feel like you guys did well, especially in the absence of Vita?
I thought we changed some things up here and there, and we showed some 0, we showed some 3, we showed some 2. We kind of mixed things up, and I thought Gaines did a great job. He did a great job, and Sanaa stepped in and made some plays as well, but I thought as a whole, those guys stepped up as a group and really was hustling to the ball, and that kind of helped us out a lot.
And again, our Antoine Winfield Jr. appreciation segment here that we always have. So 13 sacks now since he entered the league, which is 3.5 more than any other DB during that span. 9 forced fumbles, ranked second among all DBs since then. And he's the first DB with at least 4 forced fumbles and at least 3 fumble recoveries in a single season since Lattimore did it in 2018. Take us through kind of, when you hear all those numbers and what he was able to produce in this game, what is really standing out to you at this point?
Just the consistency, and that comes from practice. You see it in practice every day. I say he plays like he practices, but he practices fast. He gets his hands on balls. He works on strips. He works on his moves getting to the quarterback. He constantly is trying to get better at something. So he's trying to be a complete safety, and he's doing a heck of a job doing it. And as he'll tell you, it wasn't one of his better games because he probably should have had 2 more interceptions.
When technically we'll give him. I'll give him credit for one of them that was called back on a penalty. You're right that it's like he made it and that didn't have anything to do with the play. But take us through the safety sack fumble and that whole play and his involvement and everybody else in it.
Well, we knew down there they were either going to run it or try to chuck it deep. So we had kind of a run pressure on, and there's nothing better than sending Winfield off the edge. So if they try to pull a football, he did a hesitation move on the fullback and went around the corner. He got a nice strip.
This last week, he was announced as the nominee for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award for the team. For you as a head coach, what is it like when your most talented players can also be leaders like that on and off the field, of the locker room quality there, and just what it means to have a guy like him who so early in his career seems to really know how to do it the right way, both on and off the field?
It says a lot because it speaks to the younger guys that came behind him. He's only in his third or fourth year right now, and then we got guys behind him younger than that. So when they see him working on and off the field and treating people like the way he treats them and the way he practices and his work ethic, it just gives you a great joy because they have somebody to look at. We have other guys on the team that do that, but to be that young and do it is pretty special.
I know that, again, we talked about there was no Vita, Greg Gaines, and then even Deidre Sanat getting in there for some plays. What did you see from the backups there? And then, just knowing also, Merriweather has to come in, KJ Britt's starting the game, all these guys. What did you see from all these backups?
They played hard. Obviously not without some mistakes, but they played hard and they played winning football. They've been in before, they understand the assignment, they're playing faster. Again, they're making the plays at the end of the game to win the ball games, and it's a good experience for them. You don't mind playing them.
And what went into the decision for KJ Britt to be the guy that got that call as compared to maybe Servassier Dennis and the way that you were kind of drawing that up in the inside linebacker position?
A little more knowledge of the defense. KJ's probably got more knowledge of the defense. He's got more years, obviously. Voss got a few plays in there, but KJ, he's a natural-born leader. We've been watching him for a while now, and it's time for him to play.
And how about Levante and his return to action? How did he look in terms of health and just kind of the level he was playing at before the injury?
Playing fast. He did a great job in coverage, does a great job in the run game. He's shooting gaps. He's back to his old self. Happy to see him out there. The guys rally right behind him.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more on The Todd Bowles Show. Welcome back into The Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Todd Bowles. Carlton Davis got an interception in that game and definitely looked like one of those results of film study things. Jumped to that route before they even called the play, it felt like. So.
Carlton made a great play. He made a great play to get us points on the board. Again, Ritter spun around, didn't even see him coming. Carlton saw it, and he took advantage of it, and hats off to him. That play doesn't happen much.
That's awesome. As a coach, I feel like that's got to be one of your favorite kind of plays, that as you work through trying to explain to them the idea of reading things and film study and all of that, did that feel like one of those very satisfying moments to see them kind of take what you've been trying to teach and put it into practice?
The fact that it was him, yes, because he's been hesitant to take that play and he didn't even think about it, and he made a heck of an athletic play as well as some other athletic knockdowns he had during the ball game, but I was happy for him.
And Zion McCollum, again, we just talked about the fact that he essentially has been a starter this year because of how many games he's been asked to step into action due to injury. Where do you think he's playing now in terms of the idea of, instead of viewing him as a backup, but a guy that's gotten the kind of reps a starter gets a lot of times now, where he plays and what his game looked like? I know there were definitely a couple big pass breakups.
I don't view him as a backup. I view him as a starter. Whether we got two guys healthy or three guys, I view him as a starter. He plays with such confidence. He plays aggressive. He makes plays. He's very athletic. He's a very heady ball player, and the arrow's nothing but up for him. And he looks comfortable out there. He's comfortable with the system, and that was the biggest thing coming back in his second year. He works at it. He studies, and he's a heck of a ball player right now. He's probably our most unsung guy on defense right now.
Wow, that's definitely a statement. Where do you think the biggest areas of growth have been for him since he came in here?
It's been mentally. It's been mental. He's been a great athlete. He can run. He can do all those things. But mentally understanding the system and what he can and can't do, I think has been big for him.
And then Chase McLaughlin getting a 55-yarder. So he has now made 5 field goals of 50-plus yards this season, tied for the 7th most in the NFL. He's 22 of 27 in his career on field goal attempts of 50-plus yards. What has that meant to this team and to all of the different decisions you are asked to make in fourth down scenarios, and when you the confidence that you're able to have when he runs out there?
He's been big because he has a strong leg, and we know we can get to a certain part of the field, and if we don't get it, Chase has been coming through for us. We try not to say his name much because we don't want to jinx him and mention it, so I'm going to leave it alone right there, and I'll congratulate him later.
Are you a superstitious person in general when it comes to football?
Only on some things.
Yeah.
Certain things I am. If we win, whatever we did the week before in the building, coaching-wise, we need to keep that routine. If we don't, we need to change it. Whatever I have to eat that morning, then I'll eat it again that evening. But other things, no.
That's pretty funny. Were you, as a player, more or less this way?
No, not at all.
Not at all. So it's a coaching thing for you more than a playing
It's a coaching thing.
Interesting. That's very interesting. So now, as we talked about the idea of the intensity of this last week's game, that there was so much at stake, it was very easy to explain like how much you guys needed this win. But you did talk about the fact that now almost every game here on out is like a playoff game. Do you feel like you can maintain the same kind of intensity for the team to go into each one of these games that maybe aren't quite as easy on paper to explain as this one was, of how black and white it was of what it meant to your season?
You have to, and they'll all be different, but you have to maintain that kind of intensity and understanding what you have to do to win the division. So we'll rest up and we'll reload this week and get ready for Green Bay. We'll come out with a different strategy and try to play that game the same way, hopefully not coming down to the end of the ball game, but however we need to come out with a win, that's what we're going to try and do.
Yeah, we'd like to bring the stress levels down for you and the rest of the staff just a little bit.
Playoffs is always going to be stress level.
That's true. All right, we're going to take another quick break here. We have one more segment coming up on the Todd Bowles Show. We'll be right back. It's time for our final segment here on the Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Todd Bowles. Looking ahead to this Packers game now. What is a Matt LaFleur coached team like? What do you know about kind of his identity at this point and what he brings?
A lot of discipline, a lot of misdirection, a lot of play action on offense. Very tough up front on defense, led by Gary. Very good corners, ball hawking corners. They get turnovers, they get momentum, they don't beat themselves, and they don't turn the ball over. So it's going to be a tough game.
How about Jordan Love as quarterback? What have you seen in terms of his progression and his readiness to step into this role?
A lot of poise. He's been playing great. I think they're like second in the league in play action passes, and he's been very accurate with those. And you can see he understands where to go with the football. I think having time, he's been sitting around behind Aaron Rodgers for a long time, so he's gained a lot of experience. And now that he's playing and the game's calmed down for him, I think he's playing great.
And then how about their running back Aaron Jones and some of the ways that you guys are going to have to try to stop him?
It's going to be a 1-2 punch back there. They got 33 and 28, and they give the ball to each of them. Now that he's back, we know what kind of back he is. We know what kind of back Dylan is as well. Both very tough to bring down, so we got our hands full.
And then their wide receivers, Dobbs and Christian Watson, what are some of the unique things that they do?
A lot of speed with Watson. Dobbs is an outstanding route runner, outstanding precision, outstanding timing, great hands. Thought he was very good last year, so it's going to be tough.
Tell us a little bit more about their defensive front.
Ooh, they get after it, starting with Gary. He's a sack machine by himself. He's going to be a load to deal with, obviously, and they got everybody else up there does a great job at staying in their gaps. They do a great job staying in their gaps, and they make you one-dimensional. And
then how about, again, their defensive backs, a little bit more about what they can do?
Great man-to-man, great zone guys, led by Alexander. They got very good ball skills. That's the thing we can't do against Green Bay is turn the football over.
When it comes to playing in Green Bay in December, the weather can always be a pretty big factor in terms of that kind of thing. Do you feel like whether it is colder or not, especially for a Florida team where it's not like we experience that a whole lot, do you ever see that impacting some of the calls you guys have to make or the way that the team is prepared for it, the same way we talk about other teams coming in here and maybe not always being ready for the heat?
Well, depending on the weather, if it's blistery and all that, it affects your passing game some. I don't think we'll reach that point. Other than that, you go out there and play. It's 3 hours. We know we got to get in the playoffs. We do whatever we have to do.
And playing somewhere like Green Bay that does have a lot of history to it, someone who you've obviously been around the league for a long time and appreciate that. Is there somewhere like that you kind of value going up to play there, or some of the places that you view as some of your favorite to go coach at?
No, because it's too cold. No. But it's
You're like,
place
forget history.
It's a place you have to go to win a ball game, so we're going up there to win a ball game.
And that's all that matters. So for you, 2 wins in a row, what are the biggest things that you are feeling good about looking at these last 2 games that you most want to see continue in this next one?
Just the mental toughness and embracing the challenges each week. We understand our mission. We understand what we have to do. We've been through it where we haven't won. Now we're coming out on the other end and we are winning, so we got to keep continuing that to go forward.
All right. Well, thank you as always for taking the time to spend with us, and congrats on these last couple wins.
Appreciate it.